My name is David Stafford and I have vitiligo. My first experience with vitiligo was sort of researching it online, didn't have any idea what it was. What happened is I had a traumatic experience. I lost my job, lost my home, and I started to develop white spots on my body. Didn't think too much of the white spots. I just thought, well, maybe might have an infection of some sort, maybe a fungus. Didn't really think too much about it, didn't know what it was. So of course I did what most people do. I went to WebMD and started looking around for what are possible causes of white patches. I found a website, it said vitiligo, mentioned Michael Jackson had vitiligo. So I thought, it can't be that. It must be something more, treatable, something that I can deal with. Didn't think too much of it because unfortunately my circumstances were kind of daunting. I didn't have a job, I didn't have insurance, so I really couldn't go out and figure out what was going on. When I finally did go to the doctor said, I have vitiligo. And I said, what does that mean? And she pretty much said, there's nothing that I can do for you. Vitiligo is an autoimmune disease, and it affects quite a large number of people. Vitiligo offers to the people who have it white spots on their skin that is noticeable. And so for me, being a Caribbean, African American male, having brown skin and then developing these white patches that were visible to the naked eye became very daunting a task for me to be able to deal with. Psychologically, it really made me feel that I was less of a man, potentially even less of a black male, because that which defines me can no longer be seen, or it's being cast with this white patches that are unexplainable. The hardest part for having vitiligo for me is when I see children walk past and they're like, "Mommy, what's wrong with him?" Or "Mommy, look at his skin." I remember going to a fast food restaurant and a little girl just covering her mouth and pointing at me and saying, "Ooh, he looks so ugly." And so having that sort of play in my head every day definitely had some self-esteem issues that went with it. So at this point of my life, to have vitiligo, be comfortable enough to sit in front of a camera and talk to people about what vitiligo is and how it affects people psychologically and emotionally is major strides for me. The most daunting thing I face with vitiligo, I would say, is being comfortable enough to go out there and date, or being comfortable enough to go out in a business setting and present my product, or present what it is that I do on a daily basis. I'm in sales, so I do go out and talk to people, and the first thing that I think of is they're looking not at David, they're not listening to what David is saying, they're actually looking at my vitiligo, and they're wondering what is wrong with this guy's face, or maybe he was in a fire, or he has a scar, or there's other reasons, or maybe some of the more daunting task is having people say, "Oh, I feel so bad for you," or "I'm so sorry that you went through this." So it's always that feeling of being pitied, or that feeling of condescension that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis would be the most daunting task that I encounter on a daily basis. On the flip side, I'm healthy. I'm a healthy guy. I don't really have any, conditions. I have vitiligo, and vitiligo is a skin condition that affects the pigment of your skin. So if I look at it in the bigger scheme of things, I'm a healthy individual that has vitiligo that affects my skin and my skin color. So on a good day, I see it that way, and on a bad day, I see this spotted guy who's looking back at me in the mirror, and I don't know who he is. Recently, I have looked to sort of ways that I can camouflage my vitiligo so that it's not seen out to the public at large. And so I've sort of investigated the idea of camouflage makeup. Now, men don't wear makeup, so it's not like, hey, I can go out to some beauty supply store and buy makeup. But I investigated the idea of camouflaging the white spots for a wedding party that I'm a part of. So I did, for the first time today, put camouflage, had camouflage application to the white spot. So what you're seeing now is David covered up from all of the white spots. The idea of coming out and doing camouflage is sort of foreign to me. It doesn't really make much sense on one hand, but on the other hand, I walk around with white patches on my skin on a daily basis. I feel uncomfortable and I hide myself. So having an option to be able to go out there and see something or do something different, definitely I think is a powerful thing. It gives me back my power to be David without being David with white patches. I think one of the things that I want to share, and reason why I thought that it would be a good idea to do this is I have been in my house pretty much hiding away from the world because I'm afraid for people to see that I have vitiligo. I don't think that's a great way of living. I think that the opportunity that life has given you is that you have something uniquely important to share. Whether that's your story, whether that's your circumstance, whether that's what you are put here to do. And sitting at home is not allowing me to do that. Maybe camouflage is not something that you may want to do. Maybe finding a way that you can treat vitiligo, or maybe just walking around with the white patches and saying, hey, I'm proud I have vitiligo, may be the way to go. And I think for me, this step, being in front of this camera, taking the step to camouflage, being able to talk about it openly, are all my opportunities to be able to say, hey, world, my name is David Stafford, and I have vitiligo.